Hey everybody, this is Dustin, your RV Specialist. So today we're looking at a 2022 Grand Design Imagine, and it is a 2670 MK. So what it's here for is to replace all the underbelly material that's in that tube right there. So what I want to show you, basically the gentleman or the people that own it, if you're watching this, they ended up damaging their spare tire rack, which is right here that we pulled off. And as you can see how it's all bent up and it damaged the carrier. And apparently we're not replacing that. I don't know if it's something that we didn't notice that was damaged or if they didn't notice it was damaged, but anyways, this is gonna get replaced. Now, what I wanna do is I'm gonna crawl underneath here and I'm just gonna point a few things out. Now this is nothing rehearsed, so as I see it, you're gonna see it. And I'm getting ready to get underneath here for the first time with the creeper. So let's see what we got to see. You know, so if you've ever wondered what the heck is underneath your Imagine, keep in mind they're all built differently. There's production, so a lot of people do stuff different. Ow, that hurt my head. But, you know, here's the front of the coach where the batteries are at. There's a fuse right there. I'm assuming that's for the power jack. As you come back here, here's your main harness box. So here's the main wire for your 7-way. Coming into the box, here's all your power cords and all your grounds, right? You'll also notice here's another fuse, here's another fuse. Now, and I'm not sure if this area gets covered. Terry, was the front of this area covered with the underbelly or the front of this was open? Where the boxes and stuff are at?
That's open. It just starts right
back here? Yeah. Okay, I see the foam now. So anyways, if you have, like, say you damage your short cord, your 7-way cord, you're gonna have to come in here, undo all the nuts and the wiring, remove the clip that holds that in to pull that out to replace that whole cord. So people think, oh, just throw on a new 7-way cord, right? That's easy. It's not that easy. And then, you know, or you can, or the option is to replace a head end on it. So anyways, let's continue on back. So some of the stuff we want to talk about is, you know, when the guys pull off an underbelly, or people say, you know, why did they cut it? Why didn't they take it all the way down? Well, in this example, I think we have, what was it, 15 hours, Terry?
Yeah, it's going to take all that, man.
So he's, as you can see in his hand, he's got a crap ton of zip ties, right? So as we go through here, just want to show you, you know, as we go through here, look at all the wiring and the plumbing he's got to contend with. He has to take this valve loose so he can slip on the new material. Of course, everything's got to get foamed back in place. There's a lot of screws and stuff. Here's a band strap that's just like a secondary to hold this tank in place. So this tank that's here is saddled on both sides where there's a ridge of it that's catching on the frame. And so make sure that you're not overfilling them, because when you do, they're gonna sag a lot in the center and create a problem. So again, you can see here's where the straps are. These are just backup straps to keep the tank from falling out, right? And so, I mean, that one over there, I would have done a little bit longer. You know, you can see where it pulled out. And those are all self-tap screws, so sometimes those shake, vibrate, fall out. But now what Terry's got to do is, you see how there's one tie strap here? And there's one tie strap there? All this stuff is hanging in its way, right? Here's my knee. So all these wiring, all this stuff is hanging, so it's not just easy to just slap an underbelly right back up in there, right? So now he's going to come back through here. He's going to tie strap all this wiring back up in place, get it all kind of cleaned up and organized and up. You know, you can see how it's fanned out. People will say, well, you know, hey, I see wires that are cut. Sometimes they're secondary backup wires for stuff when they're putting it in and building it. And then, you know, all this stuff is put in where it's not hanging at the factory because these frames are flipped over upside down. And then all this stuff's installed that way. So while we're underneath here, we're just going to look and see if, you know, all the tank brackets. So again, this is the brackets that hold the freshwater tank. You know, is there any screws broke off? Is there anything that's missing or coming loose? And again, you can see how this channel here, it's like a C channel, how the edge of the tank rests on it on both sides. So that's the same way on both sides of this tank. And then here's the cross supports. So there's times where people will come in and we see these cross supports that are broken, or we'll even see them on other videos that people share, and they're like, well, you know, they just didn't do something right or whatever. And that's not typically the case. A lot of times these cross braces that are in here, you know, they're welded in place and whatnot. But if the coach gets, you know, walked too far side to side, you come off something hard or whatever, it can tend to break all those, right? So let's zoom in here so you can see. So you can see the welds, and the welds, you know, they're not the best in the world. You know, it's a production thing, Lippert. You know, not to say nothing bad about them, but it's just they're just a quick weld. You know, these things aren't super strong. I could probably bend one with my hand, you know, and they'll typically weld one side. Like that side's not welded, but this side is, you know. And then you can see here where the ducking is to let the heat out, and how all the ducking down there further, see how all that's just hanging and floating around down there. Now, you know, you get underbellies that tear open and pop loose, and you say, hey, you know, I'm getting mice and rats and stuff like that. Well, here's a perfect example of that, right? You can even see up in there, and I don't know what's up there flashing, but there's some kind of electrical board up there flashing. So you could go ahead and foam this off if you wanted to. Here's another one as well. You could go ahead and foam that hole off too. You can see how much room there is in both of these. And compared to my hand, you know, that's a pretty decent sized hole. It's at least a 2-inch. Again, here's the straps. And again, this tank is resting on the edges. And so this is either gonna be the black tank or the gray. It's actually the gray. So while you're talking about gray tanks, right? There's the pull handle, and there's a bunch of different distances on these cables, depending on how these cables are routed and how tight the flex of this is. Sometimes they're looped in a circle in here. That will cause the valve to be stiffer to open and close. Then depending upon the valve, some of these cables too are with a set screw through the sides or the bottoms. Some of them are, so this one's a set screw. So that cable basically goes into a little aluminum shaft that's got a set screw. If you pull on it too hard, you're going to yank that cable out of that, and then you're going to prevent yourself from opening it up. You know, and then people say, you know, hey, I got leaks, right? Well, is a leak coming from one of your sensors? A lot of the newer ones now, we see that they're putting silicone on the sensors, because over time, these rubber sensors do dry up, shrink, and crack, and then they'll leak. They're just a well nut, you know. Here's the little diode pack for it that goes to it. There's another one up top. So, and again, you know, it's like, okay, is that the mark for empty? And then that's 1/3, 2/3, and then way up high, you know, full. So it always depends on the tanks too. You know, so here's where your heat is to try to help keep this tank here. You can see the spray foam on the pipes where they have to spray it to put the stuff on. We've had to lower down the propane line in order to get, that's what this guy is, lower that down in order to get up in here. But, you know, if you ever do get the opportunity to come in here for some reason, that's your time to resecure. I mean, look at all this wire. Here's the I-beam. Look at all this wire, how much is hanging down. You know, and again, that's not that they did something wrong. It's just when they build these in production, this frame is flipped over upside down. They're doing everything from up top. This also gives us a good idea, so we can get in here and we can see all the plates. We can see all the outriggers. We can see the bolts. We can see what's going on underneath, right? And as I slide further back, you know, here's the shower, right? And so the shower, what the heck is that? There's a piece of wood that just scrap. Oh no, it had some screws in it. So I don't know if that bracing. Hey, Terry. Hey, Terry. Well, I'll holler at him and let him know, but that bracing was probably supposed to be right in that area to protect that drain. Yeah, it sure was. So, you know, so we come across issues. So like, you know, when you're seeing this video and you're saying, hey, you know, stuff like that, you know, here's the P-trap. Of course, you want to keep it accessible, but that's also where rodents and stuff can get through. So that's huge, you know, that hole. So, I mean, you could throw a piece of covering on it. You could patch tape it in case it leaked, but you still want to let. Yeah, I did. Hey, up here, I'm looking at the shower P-trap, and there was a little 2x6 wood block with a couple set screws underneath of it, and it was completely laying off to the side like that. And so I took it and kind of pushed it back up underneath there, but you might want to throw some silicone or some Dicor or something like that to get it back up underneath there. You can see where they had
Yeah, that's their support for
their
their
support
pan.
for the pan, right? So especially right there on the P-trap area, right? So that's all loose. I don't see any leaks, but you might want to throw something in there when you go back just to kind of keep it from flopping around.
Yeah.
Throw a little dicrolapsone or non-sag. Oh, both of them are just totally loose, yeah. Don't pull too hard, you don't want to damage nothing. But anyways, that's something that we'll take care of while we're up in here, you know. I was just going over like drain valves and the cables and the connections. So there's a lot of areas. So, you know, like when people say, hey, my holding tank's leaking, you know, is it from a crack in the tank? Is it from one of the, you know, sensors? Is it from the joint? Is it from a gudon end? Is it from the slip fitting? Is it from the valve? Is it from an elbow? Is it from, you know, 45s? You know, where's it coming from, right? So, you know, same thing, you know, they'll goop all this stuff off. That was spray foam on there. What the heck? That's just, I don't want to pull on it, but that's just scrap, a connector that's scrap that was just glued to.
Oh, yeah.
to
You'd be
that.
surprised what you find when you pull these underbellies.
Oh, yeah, I know. We found, in the past, I've found tools, I've found lunch bags, sodas, I mean, you name it. Found love letters, all kinds of stuff, little notes, napkins from guys that are working in production. So same thing, when Terry goes back underneath here, he's going to take all this stuff and he's going to secure it all back in place. But, you know, there's a lot of wiring and stuff that's just floating around in them. A lot of times we'll see things that are loose that need to be tightened up, secured while we're doing this. So that's where he'll get underneath here with the light. He'll go back through. You know, again, the brackets that hold these tanks. So like, hey, my tank popped out. Well, if the tank gets overfilled past this strap and the strap expands, and because the sensors aren't working right, or you got too much weight in it. So see how I can kind of pick it up and knock on it? Even though that's a gray tank, this one's going to be the black. And if you tap on it, it's a lot thicker and harder. And it's because of all the weight in it of like the poop and sewage is going to be like honey or thick molasses at the bottom of the tank. And so if that tank gets overfilled too much, it'll just put a ton of pressure on this band like it's already doing. And then you can take the risk of, as it's sloshing, you know, you're talking a lot of water weight. So it'd be like two guys grabbing a kid and swinging them end on end, you know, like a teeter-totter swinging them. It'll rip these bolts loose. And see this one, there's only two in the bottom and there's not one up at the top. So I would have put one up there. Hey, Terry.
Yeah.
There's also a bracket back here for the holding tank that's got 2 out of the 3 screw holes missing. So you might want to take and throw another lag in this one over here on this side, and then just note it down. And if we need extra time, just call the customer and say, hey, you know, see how there's a top hole up here. It's missing the bolt, so it's only relying on the 2 bottom ones. And I don't know if the other side is the same way. I don't think it is. Yeah, this one's missing a bolt too, and that's a septic tank. Yep. So you can see how it's made for 3, and it's only it's missing one of them. So I don't know if you're able to get in there or not, but you know, have Sam or whoever's helping them, if they need more time, get more time, because we're down here. And then same thing, if you want to have us, you know, let them know about fixing the block on the shower, and then let them know about fixing the wiring. And then there's a bunch of holes up through the floor. So if he wants, you know, foam those all up, fix those all up, I would say to do that as well. You know, again, here's more of all the wiring that's just floating around up in here. So you have to make sure, you know, when people come in and we're welding for like the cross beams or the I-beams, we have to take and cut this material. You know, we're not going to take it all the way down to get in there. We're going to cut it, and we are going to, and that's what they pay us for. We're going to cut it, put a piece of wood in there to kind of blend the 2 pieces back together to secure it to get up in here so that we can shield these wires or move them over. If these wires are resting up against this frame and we got to weld on your frame, we're going to melt every one of those wires. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 pieces of wire in my hand, right? And most of those have, you know, they're thick. So there's 2 or 3 pieces of wire in each one, you know, that's double stranded, right? So you're talking, you got probably 40 different runs of wire or 50 different runs of wire just right there that goes through one side, not counting the other side, right? And the stuff that dangles across. So again, more tie straps. I'm gonna get stuck here where the axles are. And you know, he does got the thin, cheap leaf spring hangers. You know, you can see the distance too. Hey, Terry. Yeah. Also, his bushings on his shackles, they're shot. I can see how the distance between the, you know, this side versus that side, the distance of where the shackle link to the spring goes.
Oh, yeah.
And then the spring.
It's clipped right here.
The spring clip?
Yeah, I was going to be inspecting this as soon as
Yeah, I mean,
but
the springs look okay, but I can see how all the bushings are worn on the spring hangers as well. So, you know, you never know, like I said, what we're going to find. And what I'm talking about, folks, if you're watching this, is I can tell from the distance of that those bushings are gone. So it's already wearing on his shackle hangers. And so he's going to need to do those at some point. So if you're watching this, Mr. Owner, when we call you up and tell you we got this, that, and the other to take care of, heed to our warning, or else you'll come in and spend a lot more money when you don't want it to be spent. So, and then same thing, you know, I'm looking at his hangers too. You know, here's the frame and the leaf spring hangers. They're bent in a little bit too, compared to the back one. You know, if you look here to there, this leaf spring hanger's tweaked, so this axle's been driven hard and pushed. Is that side, see how this side's crested inward?
this one is too, a little bit.
Yeah, this one's off. It's not centered. And then there's a bunch of slop in it because the bushings are shot. So, and then yeah, that spring's still there. Let's come back down this way. These stock center equalizers, trash. 1950 technology. Let's replace them and save yourself from all the stuff on your coach from falling apart and shaking. All the skirting braces are missing over here on this side, or they're broken loose. It's just not secured good enough. Here's your adjustment for your manual crank for your slide out. So if you've ever wanted to see underneath here what the slide out looks like, and again, you know, look how big that hole is. That's like a, I don't know, 5-inch hole. There's the hole too. You know, here's the wiring. So like, hey, you know, do clips break for the drive arms? That's for the manual, you know, do connections go bad? They do, you know, so if we ever have to get up in here, do the bolts get loose and sure off in those as well? And sorry, I'm all over the place. It's just, I'm a pretty big sized boy and I'm underneath here. And then, hey, Terry,
Yeah.
the main bar up in here, it got hit too.
Yeah, I seen that.
So see that
I
bend?
already got pictures of that.
Right? I mean, I don't know.
That's right where because right here, coming right across here is where his spare tire goes.
So see if you can straighten that back out.
Yeah.
Do you know if this was insurance or this is just customer pay?
It's
or?
insurance.
Okay, so see if you can straighten that back out a little bit for him. That
Yeah,
I-beam passport.
I got pictures of that.
But it's the same thing, folks. You know, I mean, you hit this stuff, and the time that it would take to replace this I-beam, you're talking take down the tanks, take down the plumbing, the freaking slide out stuff's next to this. I mean, he got stupid lucky. He could have damaged the slide out, Terry.
Oh, yeah.
He got really lucky, you know. I can't see in here because it's pretty dark, but, you know, again, the plumbing lines, this is a second grade tank, and as you can see, the second grade tank goes sideways, and all the fittings and stuff that he has to contend with. You know, all the wiring, all the harnesses underneath the slide outs. So anyways, I'm going to stop videotaping. I'll come back out and take some more pictures and stuff when Terry's doing it. And but just want you to know, you know, when you come in, you know, if we have to get in here, typically most of the time you're either cutting to access, but again, you don't know where that access is. But if you ever need to have the whole underbelly removed, it's a chore. It's like a 2-day event to take that down, clean it up, put it back on. And then if you're going to do that, you might as well come down here and check every cotton picking thing. Make sure all your water lines are secured, that they're not rubbing on anything. Make sure that all your ducking is good. Make sure all your suspension's good. Make sure your hangers are good. You know, get all the wiring squared away, all that kind of fun stuff, right? You know, and that's the propane line that he had to drop down so he can do the underbelly. But again, you know, this isn't a race, right? So no matter what you're doing, if you get underneath or even if you're doing it yourself, take your time, do it right, make sure that you're not, you know, just being underneath here and blowing through it, you know. So I'm going to get with the girls in the office. We're going to get back a hold of the customer, see if he wants to fix any of the missing hardware, see if he wants to, you know, foam up anything while we're down here and go from there. And that's not part of the insurance. If this is insurance, that's part of YOU, right? And it's like, oh, well, the factory, that's just standard. It's industry standard. That's how they do it. It's quick, it's fast, it's production. If they took the time to make every coach particular, you know, because some people's needs are different than others, if they took that time, you would pay 3 or 4 times what that coach is to build it. You know, same thing when people are always, and even us, we're always bitching about like quality and the products they use and whatnot. So, you know, could you strap it better? Could you bolt it better? Could you come up with a new way of doing it? You could, but that's going to take the price and drive it way the hell up to where nobody can afford one of these. You know, that's when you get into these coaches that, you know, hey, Dustin, what's the most expensive coaches you work on? Prevost, Newell, Newmar. I mean, some of the high-end stuff that's, you know, $500,000 clear on up to $2.5 million, you know. So if you got that kind of money, then they're going to put it together that kind of way. If not, this is just common things you're going to deal with. So anyways, stay tuned for more. I'll quit bitching and nagging at you. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this, and hopefully some of the stuff made sense. You know, again, you see these screws, don't just crawl underneath here and start whacking them off. That's what's holding your braces. So if you get in here and say, I don't like that, and you trim those off, you just compromise your holding tank, right? You know, worst case scenario, I mean, again, could they have been drilled out? Could they have been nut and bolted in place? Sure. Takes more time, takes more money versus just using a self-tap. And then, you know, it's good to come down here and wiggle on these and see if they're loose. You know, obviously they're not going to be because there's so much weight in there right now, but all the tanks are full. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoy this, and we will get back to it. Dustin and Terry, your RV specialists. Have a good day.